So to talk about Pinot Noir on a global basis is really to talk about the 3 C's. We talk about the climate, we talk about the whole cluster press, and we talk about the clones that go into the wines. Each one of these wines comes from a different climate that impacts the grape differently from each different zone. Pinot Noir is a very light-skinned grape, so the climate has a greater impact on the variability of the wines from the different global regions than, let's say, a Cabernet Sauvignon, for example, which is a thicker skinned grape. So Pinot Noir is one of the lightest red grape varietals that we normally see. It's a very thin-skinned grape and consequently does well in cooler climates. So each one of these wines, be it from California, Oregon, Burgundy, or New Zealand, comes from a relatively cool climate. The California wines is cooled from the Pacific Ocean, Sonoma being adjacent to the ocean. In Willamette Valley, the Granville Pinot it's a cooler region being further north, and it gets a fairly heavy rainfall, so it doesn't see a whole lot of sunlight. The same can be said to a certain degree about Burgundy. It's what we call a continental climate, and so it's not overly hot, and it has cool evenings, and so a long, coolish summer, if you will. The one outlier here is the wines from New Zealand, which come from a very cool, dry area, but right next to the ocean, so it's a heavy maritime climate. When we're talking about Pinot Noir, we really have to talk about whole cluster press. And what is whole cluster pressing? Typically, when you're producing a red wine, you destem the grapes, i.e. you take the stems away from the grapes and you press the fruit alone. Now, until the early 20th century, we didn't have a destemming technique, so most wine was made as whole cluster. And that harkens back to why we see old world wines from France and Spain and Italy being a little more robust typically and a little more structure, because they've been using whole cluster press or stems in the wines for millennium, for thousands of years. Today, in modern Pinot Noir production, we typically use anywhere from 20 to 40% whole clusters in the production of the wine. And that does a couple of things. Number one, it brings soft tannins to the party. Number two, it brings a little more aromatic structure, and it allows the winemaker to sort of play with tannin structure before they even go into the oak barrels, which also adds tannin structure. So a discussion about Pinot Noir wouldn't be complete without discussing the Pinot Noir clones. Now, more than many other grapes or many other grape varietals, wine varietals, the blending of different clones of the Pinot Noir grape is what makes a higher quality or better quality wine. The clones have been sort of around for years and years, but it's only since the advent of DNA testing that we really can categorize each clone and sort of figure out what their physiological attributes are in terms of growing or in terms of flavor profile or aroma profile. So the vast majority of Pinot Noir clones come from Burgundy originally, and they're what we call Dijon clones, because the researchers back in the 1950s who started categorizing these clones were based in Dijon, France, which is adjacent to the Burgundy area. So we have a number of different clones. There's 113, 114, 115, Dijon, Pommard, Swan, Waddensville. There's a whole bunch of different clones. Most winemakers will blend 2 or 3 of these different clones to produce a final, a finished product. And often you'll see anywhere from 5 to 6 clones planted together in any one vineyard.